News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
It's time to take a look at this hour's news headlines here on KVNU. I'm J.D. Walker. Henry B. Eyring, the first counselor of the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, dedicated the new Linden, Utah temple on Sunday. The dedication marks the faith's 216th operating temple worldwide. During the services, Eyring emphasized the spiritual peace that temple worship can provide members amid life's challenges. Quote, the temple is a place for peace where we are cleansed and purified, Eyring said. The three-story, 81,000-square-foot facility is located at 850 East Center Street. The late church president Russell M. Nelson announced the temple in October 2020 and officially broke ground in April 2022. Following a public open house this spring, the temple is now officially operating. Utah is home to more than 2.2 million Latter-day Saints. The Linden facility is one of 32 temples in the state currently operating, under construction, or undergoing renovation. In other news, a Vernal man has been charged with automobile homicide nearly 2 years after a crash that killed a motorcyclist in Uinta County. Rexton Herbert Sharp, 19, was charged Friday in 8th District Court in connection with the July 14, 2024 death of 54-year-old Jason Schultz. According to charging documents, Sharp was driving a Mazda 3 when he made a left turn without yielding to Schultz's oncoming motorcycle. Schultz was traveling an estimated 55 miles per hour and struck the front of the car and was thrown from his bike. Schultz was transported to a nearby hospital in critical condition and later died from his injuries. A fundraiser established after the crash noted that Schultz was returning to Utah from a cross-country motorcycle trip. Investigators determined Sharp was lightly braking while making the turn. Police reported that Sharp's eyes appeared red and clouded at the scene. Charging documents state he admitted to using marijuana earlier in the day. Court records do not indicate why it took nearly 2 years for the charges to come through. And finally, Utah drivers will soon get some relief at the pump thanks to temporary gas tax passed by state lawmakers earlier this year. Starting July 1st, the state will reduce its gas tax by 6% per gallon, representing an approximate cut of 15%. The reduction authorized by House Bill 575 in March will remain in effect through the end of the year. Supporters of the legislation say the measure is intended to ease financial pressure on families struggling with high fuel costs. The bill also includes provision to boost local fuel production, streamline permitting processes for pipeline changes, which lawmakers hope will stabilize the long-term fuel supply. Local drivers who have expressed frustration over continuing rising prices welcome the upcoming reduction. Jason Wilco, a Utah driver who fills up frequently, said even a small drop will help, adding that he's in favor of any cut they can make. The Lawn Doctor bringing you a look at your weather this hour. Regular visits from the Lawn Doctor will help your lawn be healthier and pest-free. Go to lawndoctor.com. Today, a chance of some afternoon thunderstorms right around 20%, but otherwise sunny and 73. Tonight, scattered showers overnight with a low of 43, and going to be a wet one with thunderstorms and showers and a high of 66 for your Tuesday. That's been a look at this hour's news headlines here on KVNU. I'm J.D. Walker.
Mild winter? Oh, yeah. Your weeds noticed, too. Now they're popping up everywhere. Landscape beds, rock, even your driveway. Oh. Good news? Logan Extermination has you covered with their Killzall service. Starting at just $75 for 1,500 square feet or less, they'll take care of those unwanted weeds fast. Clean it up before it all takes over. Call Logan Extermination today at 435-752-8450. That's 435-752-8450. Online at loganextermination.net, a division of Anderson Seed and Garden.
Box Elder County. Got a junk car? Here's where it goes now. DD Auto and Salvage in Logan is stepping up, serving Brigham City, Tremont, Willard, Corinne, Garland, and across northern Utah and southern Idaho. They pay top dollar for vehicles and scrap metal, and they'll haul it away for you. Fast, easy, and you'll get paid. Take the quick drive to Valley View Highway or just make the call, 787-1204. That's 787-1204. DD Auto and Salvage, northern Utah and southern Idaho's go-to for junk car cash.
Here's Chad, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
Just a couple tips for this summer for a healthier lawn. Raise your lawnmower blade a notch or two. Longer grass helps conserve water and fight against stress. Double check your sprinkler coverage and watering times. Then call the lawn doctor to put down a grub preventative and to try our popular new 2-service soil enrichment program.
Fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call the lawn doctor at 753-LAWN or go to lawndoctor.com.
Hey Utah, have you heard? Nuclear energy might be coming to our state. Now, before your brain jumps straight into sci-fi movies, let's talk about what nuclear actually does. Nuclear technology helps power our nation's submarines, supports life-saving cancer treatments, and produces reliable electricity for millions of homes. That said, nuclear power also comes with a lot of misconceptions. Don't worry, we get it. Energy decisions matter, and Utahns deserve the facts. Learn more about nuclear and what it can mean for you. Visit energy.utah.gov/nuclear.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Hello.
Is this Shalise Summers?
It is.
Someone had told us that you're a local hospice nurse who works for Sunshine Hospice?
Yeah, that's correct.
How many years have you been doing that?
I've actually been a hospice nurse for 22 years.
We'd like to give you a $40 gift card to Firehouse Subs to treat you to free lunch or dinner sometime over at Firehouse.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's a good surprise to wake up to this morning.
The Above and Beyond Salute on News Talk KVNU, the voice of Northern Utah.
Hey, Chuck, I see you have a 4.8 review rating on Trustpilot. Nice.
Our staff is so proud of their over 8,000 stellar reviews on Trustpilot. One of the best reasons to do business with Dollar Loan Center is our amazing bank-like locations and real, live, friendly staff.
I know your Logan and Ogden customers just love your staff.
And so do I. We're so different than the average payday, check cashing, or title loan joints. We lend more and give more time to pay back. Look, our locations are amazing, great music on, and you immediately feel comfortable and welcome, like banks used to be. Another thing we do that banks used to do is actually lend money.
Dollar Loan Center lends up to $5,000 in minutes. Stop by in Logan, Ogden, or any of our 15 Utah locations to meet our real friendly staff. You can also apply over the phone or online at don'tbebroke.com.
Licensed by the Utah Department of Financial Institutions. Subject to approval, limitations may apply. See website for details.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People, hour 2 of today's show. As we speak, residents in Box Elder County are meeting with county commissioners, representatives of MEDA, and others, including some who are behind the design of the project. This is a public meeting that was scheduled last minute by the county commissioners a week ago, after more than 80 Box Elder residents showed up in the morning hours to protest what they say is a data center project in Box Elder County that residents claim has been rushed, has lacked transparency and public buy-in, and they're concerned about power consumption, about emissions from what will essentially be a 9 gigawatt. That's double the state's electricity usage. 9 gigawatts. The state barely hit 7 on a heavy day. This is 9 gigawatt natural gas powered power plant that will actually be built inside this data center. And now it's called a hyperscale center. And what that means is that this is for leasing. This will be leased by the big uns, Amazon, Google. The promise is that there will be a lot of jobs. There's some questions about that. Some of the data centers that have been constructed around the country have created thousands of jobs initially for construction, making roads, infrastructure building, all of that stuff. And then once they're up and running, some of these have only employed, 100, 150 people. Now, that's not nothing in Box Elder County. I just want to say that. But it's also, I think, something to keep in mind as you contrast the potential cost for Box Elder residents. So there are concerns over this. Over the weekend, Salt Lake Tribune reported that going through water requests and, permitting that have gone through the Division of Water Resources, they're asking for, now planners say they won't use all of this, but they're submitting requests to basically lock up about 20,000 gallons of water a day. Or do I have that right? Yes. So this is a lot that would be used. If it's a closed loop system, that's one thing. That water can be cleaned and then dumped back into the Great Salt Lake. Remember, this is going to be upstream from the Great Salt Lake. If it's not a closed loop system, that's a lot of water that then has to just kind of be dumped out onto the open ground or evaporated into these turbines that will then power the whole thing. So my point is there's a lot of unknowns, and residents, I think, were right to raise concerns. We will actually have highlights of the meeting that is happening now, today, at the Fine Arts Center at the Box Elder County Fairgrounds in Tremont on tomorrow's show. But I wanted to give everybody an opportunity to kind of recap all of this, as it's all been happening very rapidly, including comments made by Governor Spencer Cox last week in his monthly news conference. The governor was asked by Brian Mulhey, a journalist here in Utah, do you feel, as residents do, that this has been rushed? And here's what the governor had to say.
What I can say is that the discussions have been very positive. Let me back up a little bit and just talk generally about data centers. We've had data centers in this state for a long time. I've been pretty neutral on data centers. I think they're important, but they're not the number one source of economic development for our state by any means, and shouldn't be. Look, we're living through a very interesting time right now. There was an article I read yesterday that said that this is very similar to kind of the nuclear arms race, the nuclear era, 60, 70, 80 years ago. Very different than anything that we've experienced in the past several decades. And there is a national security piece to this that has to be acknowledged. The rate at which machine learning and artificial intelligence is changing, the dangers that poses, and what happens if an adversarial nation gets ahead of us in this space is something that we should all be worried about. And so we have an obligation. I think every state has an obligation when it comes to this space to allow for these types of data centers to be built in their states. We have to do this. We can't just say no and shut the doors and go home and let China win this technology race. So that just can't be an option. And so we have to do this smart. We have to do it in the right places and in the right way. We should not have data centers everywhere, and we should be very careful with our resources. And so those are the conversations that have been had. Unfortunately, there's a lot of really bad information out there about data centers. People are operating off of models and technologies that have changed drastically over the past few years, especially when it comes to water usage. That's one where the numbers are just wrong. There was also a report about warming around data centers that was also deeply flawed, and immediately found out that it's deeply flawed. But everybody just believes it now that data centers use all the water and destroy everything around them, and that's just not true. And so we're going to have these in our country, and we're going to have some of these in our state. And so the question is, again, where do we put them, and how do we do this in the best way? This is a location where they have water available. It's not taking additional water away from the Great Salt Lake. It's taking water that would be used for other things and using it for a different purpose now. And we have air quality standards that we have to abide by, that they have to abide by. And here's where Utah is really shining. We did something different than other states, and that is we said we're not going to allow these data centers to take all of our power, which will significantly increase the power consumption and the power rates for the people of our state. We're not going to allow that to happen. Again, this is the bad information that keeps getting put out there. So these companies, if and when they decide to build, they're going to have to build their own power supplies. And ultimately, that's good for our state because they're going to put power back on the grid, which will help us keep our power rates lower than anywhere else in the country. And so, look, I understand the concern that people have. I have concerns about where we're putting these and when we're putting these. But this is one where we've had conversations recently. Again, this is going through MIDA, so it's a quasi state entity, but I don't have control over that entity. I think I appoint one person to that entity, and so we again we want to make sure that they're doing it the right way, and this is one that I think is going to help our country long term, and that's something that we all have to be a part of. I do. Yes.
And to the concerns that it has been rushed, What do you say?
Well, what I can say again is MIDA has a process that they go through and hearings that they go through. People have had a chance to provide feedback. This whole idea of being rushed, I'm so tired of our country taking years to get stuff done. It's the dumbest thing ever. We think that taking time makes things better or safer. It absolutely does not. You get a chance to give your feedback and then decisions get made. That's how we have to do stuff in this country and in this state. People have a chance. We're hearing from them. They're hearing from them. Again, I don't get to make this decision, but the decision makers will take into account the feedback that they receive, and then they'll make a decision, and then we move forward. We've let the people against virtually everything destroy our country, destroy our industrial base, destroy our mining base, destroy our housing base, because we can't build anything in this country anymore. And those days are over. We're done with that. We take feedback. We understand what people want. We say no to many things because there is good feedback, but we can't say no to everything. And this is in a place where it's built for something like this. If you go out there, it's not next to somebody's house where people are going to get angry because it's in their neighborhood. It's right next to a natural gas pipeline, so they can build their own energy. It's not going to. I mean, it's just. I don't know if you can't put this here, then we can't put them anywhere, and that's part of the frustration that I think people are feeling.
Governor, are you concerned about the potential emissions that this project may have?
I already said that. I already said yes. You have to meet the air quality standards, period.
Governor, back to Justice Hagan. On Saturday, GOP Chair Rob Axson asked voters at the state nominating
And if you'll notice there, this portion of the governor's news conference yesterday, he never really answers the question, do you feel this has been rushed? And that is, my understanding, that is one of the primary concerns of Box Elder County residents. He mentions that there was an opportunity for residents to give feedback before. Yes, there was a Wednesday council meeting where there was a bit of a discussion. Come on, Governor. Amita, everyone involved here, that's not enough. He knows as well as I do, as you do, that a project of this size with the potential costs, again, he's right, the technology has changed. There are ways to build these huge data centers that are not noisy, that don't contribute to light pollution, that don't really, obviously it's going to be producing emissions that are going to go into our air and end up right here in Cache Valley. We know that, right? It's going to contribute to winter inversions when the pollution gets trapped. It's going to, we know that. But there are ways to do this in which the governor is right. It's not really polluting any more than we already would have been. Which, I mean, if that's our goal and that's the highest goal we can set, great. I kind of think we can set higher goals than that, but that's a conversation for another day. What the governor is saying is not incorrect. He says nothing incorrect. What he leaves out is frustrating. Because, and this is a broader issue. He's right. The governor and the legislature do not control META. META is a quasi-military agency. Every state is required to have an entity like this. It is created by the legislature, but as the governor said, he gets to appoint one person. Everyone else comes from the Pentagon. And this is all part of long-term military readiness planning. States generally try not to say no to that for good reason. And META has a track record of being pretty responsible in this planning. But for the governor to say, look, you had your opportunity to go to a council meeting and stand up to the microphone during the public comment period. So what are you complaining about? This is going to happen. It's an unfortunate way for the governor to respond to this because this is a big project. This is a huge change for Box Elder County. And again, I'm not saying it's bad. I don't know that it's bad. I know that the concerns residents have raised are legitimate and should not be so easily dismissed as the governor has done and as others have done. But he's not incorrect, is what I'm trying to say. Nothing dishonest came out of the governor's mouth. All of that should be considered and factored in by everyone in opposition to this. It can be done. It can be done smartly. It can be done safely. It can be done in respect to the community, to the dark skies that people still enjoy out there in that area of Box Elder County, without wasting water. Many of these data centers, when they were first built, would use so much water that it was just insane, and then that water was basically evaporated into steam. And steam, of course, ends up back in the system somehow, but it's taken out of that local area for sure. And we're trying to save the Great Salt Lake. And everyone agrees that's urgent. But there are ways to do this in which the water is in a closed loop system, meaning the water doesn't evaporate and go away. It evaporates, and that evaporation is collected, and the condensation is collected. It's put back into the system. And, every once in a while they have to add a little more to it. And by the way, for those not familiar, the water is used to cool these massive processors. And I mean massive in scale of activity. They're actually small for what they do. Well, I mean, they're the size of a diesel generator, but they're not tiny. But for what they do, they're actually quite small, but they need to be cooled. They produce an insane amount of heat, and they need to be cooled by water. And then that water is then superheated, and it has to be cooled back down. So there's a lot of energy that goes into this whole process. So again, the governor's right. It can be done smartly. It can be done safely. It can be done with respect to the environment, to light pollution concerns, noise pollution concerns. It can even be done in a way that doesn't necessarily ugly up the place. All of that is correct. And he's also correct that, these are going to be built somewhere. This is obviously something the military is pushing for. For those who are maybe not fans of the current president, let me tell you, this goes back into the Biden presidency. This has been on the radar of the military and the basically the new arms race, as the governor put it, that is AI and data processing oriented, is something that is now about 10 years old. It's just speeding up this year. So this bypasses any particular administration, political party in power or not, and it's a reality. The governor is correct. But one more time, to say, hey, you had your chance to weigh in, Box Elder residents, and you did, and it's happening anyway, and suck it up, basically, was kind of what the governor said. Unfortunate way to respond to this. Their concerns are legitimate. A chance to weigh in at a council meeting or a commission meeting, not enough. This is a project where decision makers need to realize you need public buy-in, and you're not going to get it ever 100%. Oftentimes people are so hesitant to change, you can't even build townhomes in your area, which is also a thing we need to be doing. So I get it. And as an elected official, I'd probably get kind of frustrated about what's known as NIMBYism. Yeah, everyone agrees we need to build housing. No one wants it next to them. Well, it's got to go somewhere. Same thing applies, the governor is saying, to data centers. But you need to get the public buy-in, or at least try. You need to make a good faith effort. There should have been already public hearings on this. There should have been opportunities for people to actually sit down and talk about nothing but this, not just have it on the agenda at a council meeting or a commission meeting. And I'm not trying to point the finger here at Box Elder County. I feel like they're over a barrel. Commissioners there, the city councils, all of the county government. When META comes in and said this is a military thing, we want this project to happen, we've worked with the developer, here's the plan, now you need to go through the process to do the proper local permitting to make it a thing. Generally, you don't say no. But I think it's reasonable, the concerns that residents in Box Elder County have raised, and they shouldn't be dismissed. And I don't think the governor meant to dismiss them in his comments yesterday. I think what he's trying to say is something he said many times over, that we can't be opposed to everything. Stuff's got to get built. Progress has to happen, or we fall behind. We've seen it on solar panels. This is a huge industry that could have been like the gigantic resurgence in manufacturing in the U.S. Around metals in general and metal manufacturing that led to, the entire history of the city of Pittsburgh is centered around this. And they have some cool museums, by the way. Solar panels could have been that, but everyone, it became a political thing and everyone was opposed to them. And well, now they're all made in China and not here. And that's further hurting places like Vernal as coal mining, bottoms out or has bottomed out. They could have converted a lot of these facilities in Vernal and they tried to, but they just weren't fast enough, and kept a lot of people working there, manufacturing and even training to install solar panels. It became a political football. It didn't happen. So progress has to happen. Nuclear energy. I mean, that's a whole other can of worms that I won't open here today, but that needs to happen. It's just, and I agree with the governor. We can do it smartly, but you can't dismiss these concerns that residents in Box Elder are expressing, and to try and do this without a proper process, a respectful process of public engagement, and at least trying to get public buy-in on this is the wrong way to go about it. And so hats off to Box Elder County, by the way. They turned the wheel on that one. As soon as residents showed up Monday and showed they were paying attention and showed there was opposition, the first thing the commissioners did, they voted to schedule a public hearing. And, hats off on them. So, and we'll have highlights for that, from that public hearing as well on tomorrow's show. And I kind of hate to go back to this. This is such a nerd thing, but all this is also happening around something that we're not yet sure is not a bubble. I don't know. It's fingers crossed that it isn't. I think AI is cool. It's never actually going to be intelligence. It's never going to be actual artificial intelligence, but it's very cool. Its potential in ways that where it's practical to use is immense. But right now, we don't know if this isn't just an investor propped up bubble that's about to burst, and yet we're doing all of this. And I guess, for me, with the nerd hat on, I think there's just plenty of room here to kind of tap the brake a little bit, not pull the handbrake entirely, not slam on it with both feet, but maybe tap it a little bit and assess where we're at and where we're going. Anyway. All right. We'll move on from this for the most part. But again, we'll have highlights of the public meeting happening in Box Elder County as we speak over this proposed AI data center in Box Elder County on tomorrow's show. And we'll be back after this look at the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Time to take a look at this hour's news headlines here on KVNU. I'm J.D. Walker. A 26-year-old Hyde Park man was sentenced April 27th to 1 to 15 years in Utah State Prison for soliciting an undercover officer posing as a 13-year-old girl online. Jonathan Scott Erickson previously pleaded guilty in Logan's First District Court to sexual exploitation of a minor, a second-degree felony. The investigation began in March 2025 when a Duchesne County Sheriff's deputy engaged with Erickson on the app Sessions. Despite knowing the deputy's stated age, Erickson initiated explicit conversations, sent nude photos, and arranged to meet up for sex. During the chat, Erickson also involved a third party who shared a video of a teenage girl performing sex acts. The Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force arrested Erickson in February after identifying him from a selfie he sent the deputy. The Utah Board of Pardons and Parole will determine his release. In other news, a Detroit-bound Delta Airlines flight was forced to return to Salt Lake City International Airport on Saturday after a bird struck one of its engines shortly after takeoff. Delta Flight 2255 landed safely back in Utah. The aircraft taxied to the gate without further incident, the airline said. Passengers were reaccommodated on different aircraft that departed later Saturday evening. A Delta spokesperson said in a statement that the flight safely returned to Salt Lake City and taxied to the gate. The company apologized to their customers for the delay in travel. Wildlife aircraft strikes remain significant hazard in aviation, According to the Federal Aviation Administration, such incidents have caused billions of dollars in aircraft damage and the loss of hundreds of lives worldwide. And here locally, a 41-year-old Malad City woman died late Saturday night after the utility vehicle she was driving crashed into a tree, according to the Idaho State Police. The crash occurred around 11:55 p.m. near the intersection of 2100 West and 1000 North. Authorities said the woman who was driving to Polaris Razor when the vehicle traveled off the road and collided with a tree. Police said the driver, whose identity was not immediately released, was not wearing a seatbelt and died from her injuries. The county sheriff's department and County EMS assisted on the scene. The crash remains under investigation by the Idaho State Police. A look at your weather this hour brought to you by Discount Tire. Don't wait. Get the tires and services you need to keep your family safe on the road. Oil changes, alignment, shocks, struts, brake. Discount Tires offers layaway, no credit check financing and 12 months no interest. Visit them in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield for Discount Tires and Automotive with a look at your weather forecast. Isolated showers and thunderstorms throughout the day today. Otherwise, mostly sunny at 73. Just a 20% chance those will pop up. Tonight, scattered showers and thunderstorms. That's going to drop the low around 43, leading to a very wet Wednesday or Tuesday where we could see up to a quarter of an inch of rain out there. Scattered showers and thunderstorms with a high near 66. That's been a look at this hour's news headlines here on KVNU. I'm J.D. Walker.
ABC News, I'm Stephanie Officer. While participating in a small business summit at the White House today, President Trump gave an update on the ongoing war with Iran, which he says is going very well.
They have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft equipment, they have no radar, they have no nothing. They have no leaders, actually.
Secret Service agents exchanged gunfire with a suspect near the White House today. That suspect and a bystander were shot. Secret Service Deputy Director Matt Quinn told reporters agents were called to a suspicious person who appeared to be carrying a firearm. He says the suspect shot at agents who returned fire and struck him.
At least one, we believe only one bystander was hit by the suspect. That individual, it's a juvenile, did not sustain any life-threatening injuries, but he's also receiving treatment at the hospital.
A driver plowed into a group of people in the center of a German city today. This is ABC News.
This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance, and we are now Alera Group. This is great news for you. Now you have more choices and strength of a top national broker in your corner with our local personal service. Every situation is unique. Now we can tailor coverages from deductibles and limits to risk management, so it fits you even better. Let's compare options and tighten your program. Same friendly faces, same local office. Call 435-752-0101.
This is Dr. Josh Red with Red River Health and Wellness. You already know us for helping people get real answers. Now, we're taking that care even further. We are expanding services to include advanced wellness therapies like ozone treatments, IV therapy, hormone optimization, and targeted peptides. These aren't trends, they're tools. Tools designed to support energy, recovery, immune health, hormone balance, and overall performance. Used strategically, medically guided, and tailored to you. If you ever felt like you're doing all the right things but still not feeling right, this is the next step. Because feeling better isn't about masking symptoms, it's about supporting the systems that run your body. Red River Health and Wellness, because your health deserves more than guesswork. Learn more or schedule a consultation at redriverhealthandwellness.com.
Call Red River Health and Wellness at 855-55-RIVER.
Call Red River today.
I'm married with 2 kids.
I'm a veteran. I own my own business.
I'm a retired school teacher. And I've had thoughts of suicide.
But, thankfully,
my granddaughter made a point of checking in on me.
Spencer noticed when I was distancing myself.
One of my buddies, he was worried about me.
Having someone
when I wasn't myself.
When I need it most.
Help me live on.
Live on.
Live on.
Connection can prevent suicide. Learn more at liveonutah.org.
I'm Jay Sallin, founder of Allen Law. My focus has always been helping families protect what matters most through meaningful estate planning. I've now joined forces with attorney mediator Chris Guyman of the Conflict Resolution Center and seasoned litigator Sam Goebel to form the Allies Law Firm. Whether you're planning ahead, resolving marital conflict, or facing a courtroom battle, we bring strategy, strength, and experience together under one roof. Because when it matters most, you deserve the Allies Law Firm. Call the Allies Law Firm today. We plan, we fight, you win.
This Mother's Day, make it extra special with Kids Shop Free at S.C. Needham Jewelers. When you spend $149 or more, your child gets to pick a free gift from Mom from a curated collection of beautiful jewelry. A gift with purchase. You've heard it, kids eat free. Now they shop free for Mother's Day. A small piece of jewelry, a big moment she'll never forget. Open 10 to 7 for the occasions and people that matter most. S.C. Needham Jewelers, Mill the Block at the sign of the clock.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. The Persian Gulf region is already showing fundamental changes 2 months into the U.S. war with Iran. We'll examine the impacts so far. Also, the summer home buying season is off to a slow start, as indicated by the spring bump that once again has not materialized, and the car buying habit you must avoid. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Talking AI throughout the whole show today. Again, public meeting in Box Elder County. County commissioners weighing a decision to move ahead or pause or a lot of different options for them. Dig more into it before moving ahead. We'll find the results of that by the end of this evening, and we'll talk about it on tomorrow's show with highlights of public comment and more. But while we're on the topic of AI, I wanted to explore AI more broadly here on the show, and I reached out to Congressman Blake Moore's office, and he was kind enough to give us some of his time today to talk about this. It's a complicated issue, not just locally, just AI broadly. And Congressman Moore has one bill that I really want to focus on, but several efforts underway at the federal level alongside others, his peers in the House of Representatives, dealing with AI. And Congressman, thank you for joining us here today. I wanted to ask you specifically about your bill dealing with AI and children's toys, because I read some of the what your office had put out as far as the impetus of the bill, and I'll be honest with you, I was horrified, not by the bill, by what it was that led to you wanting to introduce this bill. I did not know. I'm a nerd. I usually am up on this stuff. I did not know this kind of thing was happening with children's toys.
Well, I mean, the broader implications of all this is we can't just keep talking about AI and the potential dangers and everything like that. That's why our team has kind of dug in. We've actually got 2 really important bills that are associated with this, and you mentioned the toy one. But we can't just continue to talk about how AI is the thing that we've got to reckon with at some point. It's here, it's now. There are chatbots within children's toys that make them seem like they're an emotional connection, that it's a real life deal. And we've got to recognize that we can't blur those lines.
Sure. That's so well said, because one way or another we've got to grapple with this. When it comes to children's toys, the idea of a child sitting down with a toy and having an AI chatbot in that toy, and then having that chatbot run with some conversations that a parent may not want their child having, that is something we can do without pulling the handbrake up fully, right? We can move ahead with this type of thing, but there need to be guardrails. That's the way I understand your bill?
Absolutely. There has to be guardrails. As you may have just heard in the background noise, my own children are in the background playing with some screen or something. I had to go quiet them down. No, so they're literally playing with children's toys that I would probably be worried about are too real life. And we're just saying that these children's toys, young children's toys, there's a serious privacy issue, and it becomes very, very addictive. Now, you could look at it and say, well, okay, when I grew up, I played a lot of Tecmo Bowl. And if you were to look at Tecmo Bowl, that Super Nintendo game back in, the 90s and the 80s, to today, the Madden games that my sons play, the real life nature of it is unbelievable. It's amazing. And I'm like, hey, advancement in technology, great, let's celebrate it. It's all good. But when we fundamentally change the fact that, these children are now thinking that this fake toy is now talking to them as a real person, and there can be a manipulation of telling them to do some things that you wouldn't tell them, you wouldn't teach them as a parent, and it becomes very dangerous. And how they would, think about themselves or treat themselves or forbid, harm themselves, right? And that's what AI chatbots can eventually lead to.
Sure. And you've referred to this sort of as using children as lab rats for making AI more intelligent and more profitable, and alongside the manipulative interactions and safety risks you've highlighted. This is a bill that I hope gets a lot of attention and moves ahead. For listeners out there, if you'd like to read the bill, I'll link to it on our Facebook page. It is introduced in April. It is the AI Children's Toy Safety Act. You can find a link to that on the Congressman's House site as well, which I've linked to on our Facebook page, or just do a simple Google search for Congressman Blake Moore. You'll find that page. And I know, with the local issue here, Governor Cox mentioned in his monthly news conference last week that there was a national security angle to all of this that needs to be factored in as well. And I know, as a member of Congress, some of the committees you serve on, you've gotten a bird's eye view of the briefings you've received of what exactly we're talking about there, right? Would you characterize it as the governor has as a sort of an arms race with other countries, China specifically?
Absolutely. I mean, that's largely what the big concern is who's going to do this ethically in the right way, and whoever leads that arms race gets to determine maybe what those ground rules are. And so that's another element that's fundamental to the debate that's going on right now, and why we're putting out this one about children's toys. And then there's another one about just like general companionship issues that come with children under 18 years old. We're not trying to say we shouldn't be able to create good, strong, broad, generative power and what powers AI. Like, we want to lead the arms race in that. What we don't want to do is allow the applications that are offshoots from that computer, that generative power. We don't want those to become major social ills that we can actually look ahead and say, yeah, that's probably not going to be a good thing for the next generation, as if we allow these types of things to exist. I mean, we've talked about it in multiple different ways. You've seen the issues with pornography and things like that get involved in this chatbot. And now, there's so much gambling going on with prediction markets and things like that. Like, it's just, technology is ubiquitous in our hands, in our pockets at all times. And we've got to be able to look at the difference between how can we be a leader in the computing power, right? We're good with that, but we've got to be smart about the applications of that. And that's where our regulatory legislation comes to a forefront. That's why we're putting out these bills that are getting broad bipartisan support, a clear recognition that we need to call out the discrepancy. If these AI, if OpenAI and some of the other companies that are saying, "Yeah, this isn't designed for children, but we're allowing toys to use our chatbots," there's a major problem there. And it's simple to, when you break it down like that, we should step in and make sure making sure our children are protected against some of this highly powerful computing technology. So we can, but we still want that computing technology to exist so we can be the leader of the free world.
Sure. This is, again, for listeners, you can read more about the AI chatbot bill in children's toys. I've linked to that on our Facebook page, or visit blakemore.house.gov. And you talked a little bit about the GUARD Act, Guidelines for User Age Verification and Responsible Dialogue, that bans this, the full name of the legislation. And you say, this is, whenever we talk about this, I know there was a state legislative debate during our legislative session in which lawmakers were kind of grappling with this, saying, how do we put these guardrails in while at the same time not hindering the development? But you say this is 100% possible. We can do this smartly without slowing down the development or losing this intelligence arms race. That's not going to be easy, though, right? This is going to take years and many different pieces.
It's going to be very difficult, but think about it. So as I've gotten a chance to be briefed on a lot of this stuff, I'm like no expert on this, right? I'm not your.
I don't think any of us are at this point, right?
Yeah, none of us are. But I had a company, Google Mind, I think that's what it was, break down what they're doing in the healthcare space. And they showed me like, hey, we've never actually been able to map or create a diagram of all of our amino acids. And so they're talking us through this, and we're like, okay, that's interesting, because I figured we would have been able to do that. Maybe there's elements that we can, but they said, well, what we can do now is with this technology, this new AI technology, we can actually very, very localized pinpoint where the mutation would occur. And if we can know that location and be able to, and so they walked us through this, I'm like, nobody's against that. Like, sure. This is excellent. This is going to be helpful in as we, the quest for the cure of all cancers. Like, we want to be able to use advanced computer technology to do that, but not. I don't want my 15-year-old engaging in some type of companionship with an AI tool that makes them think that's a real life personal relationship.
Sure.
Right. And that's what the GUARD Act is doing. It's why it got broad, unanimous support out of the Senate. We're running the companion bill in the House, and we just want to make sure minors are protected from chatbots that mimic romantic and social companionship. These are things that we've got to be able to look and say, hey, there is an ill to this, and we've got to step in and make sure that this doesn't become so ubiquitous, because manipulation will happen with this, and our children will be harmed.
I appreciated this part as well in your comments as you introduced the bill in the House. You point out that this can't be as simple as just a ban from state or federal government. This has to be a collaborative effort where you work with the developers of AI and incentivize them to take these steps to make their products safer, especially for children. And that, you say, that coordination between the two, working together that way, will get us there faster?
Absolutely. I mean, and it's like, the more that industry shows, hey, we're going to put some restraints on this because it is potential. We have seen, underage children harm themselves. We have seen them, the ills the issues that I'm talking about. We've seen that. We are going to be, as an industry, really thoughtful and smart about this. And we're going to put our, guardrails come on, and we get Congress is pushing us in one way. We're going to adhere to that. That's going to be a good thing. Guess what? Then we're still going to embrace it very strongly. And then we can still experience the technological advances that are needed for so many good, positive things. But if it becomes so dangerous and harmful, there's going to be a bigger backlash, right? And so This is why doing the smart, responsible thing as the technology still comes to fruition and unfolds right in front of us, if we're willing to be smart about it, then there's going to be an embrace of what industry is doing as opposed to this big backlash.
For listeners, again, I'll link to this on our Facebook page, or you can visit blakemore.house.gov and actually read the text of the AI Children's Toy Safety Act introduced in the House. As the Congressman has mentioned here, a companion piece to the Senate's GUARD Act. This is moving ahead in a responsible way, I think, and is a great way to kind of understand broadly, what we're dealing with AI. This is so new. It's moving so fast. There are potential harmful effects. There are also a lot of potential amazingly, mind-blowingly good possibilities that could come out of all of this. And Congressman Moore's AI Children's Toy Safety
Act. Can I share?
Sure.
Can I share one more quick personal item on this?
Please.
So we have a child. He's 10 years old. He's on the autism spectrum. We're open about it. And it's actually, since others were open about it, my wife was, we were so, we embraced this world, and it's been such a benefit to us to be able to hear from other people's stories and everything. So we're pretty open about it.
Sure.
And I see him go into his room and talk to Alexa. Hey, Alexa, tell me some jokes. He loves to tell jokes, and he's amazing at it. So I see him sort of do this, and he doesn't engage with his friends as well as his twin brother does, who's typically developing. And all of a sudden, I'm like, this child with autism, he's going to start to just be friends with these toys or these machines or this made up life, because it's a little easier for him to go and talk to Alexa than it is to talk to someone his age, because he's got some developmental issues.
Sure.
And like, that's not good. Like, and we watch it and monitor it closely, and we've got to, like, this is how it could be such a slippery slope, where a whole bunch of our children are like, hey, I'm not fitting in at school or this or that. I'm just going to go and talk to this AI companion sort of model, to like this prototype thing that is going on, and that's going to be my friend. And that's not good.
Sure.
There's no scenario in which I see like, oh, that's a benefit to technology. I'm not there yet at all. And I'm seeing it happen kind of in real time. And we need to make sure that we're watching and being very involved in our children's lives as this technology comes on stage, because we didn't have any of that as a kid.
No. So
Gen Xers like me, none of us has like something to compare this to of what their kids are going through. So we're in a completely different world. And, you know, I'm okay if my kids play video games, but like, it's a different game. It's a different world now. You know, when they're talking to their friends and they're shooting things and all that kind of stuff, it's a different world.
Yeah. That was, you know, our age, our parents were concerned we were spending a little bit too much time with the Game Boy, right? We're in a very different scenario now. And I appreciate you sharing that personal story, because that does drive that home. I know a lot of parents out there we hear from have these same concerns, you know, that my children are interacting with bots online on social media. They're interacting with Alexa, with Google. Their AI brings a whole new level to that, where it starts to feel like a real conversation, even though, so many questions about this as far as how it's moving forward. But as you said, it is moving forward one way or another. And if we stick our head in the sand, it's not going to play out well. So appreciate that there are folks like you on top of this. For listeners, again, you can read Congressman Moore's bill at blakemore.house.gov. This is coming from, our congressman, but there are, 25, I counted, other bills that are actually making their way through the House and the Senate at the federal level right now, in one way, shape, or form, trying to grapple with this AI reality that, again, isn't science fiction. It isn't coming. It is actually here, and it's moving faster than I think any of us really appreciate. And as Congressman, as you said, none of us are experts on this. Even the people who are developing it are not experts on this. So, again, thanks to Congressman Moore for joining us, and for our listeners for being here as well. We'll speak more with Congressman Moore in the future, both about legislation he may be introducing and trying to get passed, but also, again, as a candidate. He is running for re-election here in Utah's Northern Congressional District, District 2. So thanks again to Congressman Moore for being here. Thanks to our listeners for being here. A big day, of course, especially for Box Elder County residents. That is playing out as we speak. The county commissioners hearing from the public, providing and also absorbing more information on their own on this AI data center proposal, the Stratus project, as it's known, 40,000 acres, roughly 3 times the size of Logan City. This data center proposal would gobble up in the Snowville area, roughly. And, a lot of concerns over this. But again, this is all part of a bigger, broader picture with national security implications, with, as we've just discussed with Congressman Moore here, with implications for children and how we all interact with the world around us and things online. But also, questions about where we're going with all of this. I still say I'm still a skeptic on AI in general. I feel like it'll get there as far as, what's being promised. But I don't feel that we really have as much evidence for that as a lot of the investors and people behind these big AI data center projects are implying. So there's a chance still, and I think this is worth including in the conversation, there's a chance still that this is just an investor-driven bubble that bursts after we've built all the data centers and offered all the tax cuts and incentives and made a bunch of people very wealthy, and then just the whole thing fizzles like Elon Musk's Hyperloop, basically reinventing the subway in Las Vegas. I don't know. I'm a skeptic still, but I do think it's going to get there. I do think some of these issues are just going to get more complex, and well, we'll be talking about it on tomorrow's show as well. We'll have highlights from the public hearing happening in Box Elder County as we speak on tomorrow's program, so I hope you'll be here for that. Stick around. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVNU Logan.
Covering all the news. Stay with 610 AM and 102.1 FM. Breaking news and stimulating talk. KVNU Logan.